Post, right. So in working with data, in trying to solve any problem with data, we know the first step is understanding how we understand the data sets that we are working with, as well as the business requirement. What's the question, or what are the questions that the business is asking us to solve? And what data sets do we need? Do we have them? If we do we understand them? So this is the data set. It's called sales data. And we see the first column there. The name of the table is data. It says order date. So we can see that something is being ordered. We see the date, the year, the quantity that was ordered, the cost of sales, that says cost of sales, the sales itself, profit, the channel, if it was through store, online, or otherwise. We see all of that in reseller catalog. Product name, we see we've got product name, we've got manufacturer's brand, we've got product subcategory, product category, region, city, country. So we've got all of this information, in. So that tells us that we are working with sales data. And if we look through, I mean, we don't have to do all of that here, to be honest, because when we put this in Power BI, we will do our cleaning there. Okay. But there's no harm in going through and just getting a good feel of what's happening within this data set. I can see that we have cost, we have sales, and we have profit already sorted out for us, as well as quantity. And this does not say cost of unit cost or unit sales price or something. It just says that amount. So real life, I would go back to the business to ask them, has this been aggregated for us such that we are saying that order quantities. So for the 9 quantities ordered, this is the total sales price of it, and this is the total cost of it, or what? But since we didn't see anything telling us that it's units, I would go with the assumption that these are already aggregated. That is 9 quantities of this particular color products contour. So SLR camera, M143 gray, 9 of it cost 958, whatever the currency is. And the sales of it goes for 2,714. So the profits made is 1,756, and those decimated part of the currency. That's what I would assume that this is telling us, unless we hear otherwise. Okay, and we know we've got region and all of that. So I'm going to go on to load these into Power BI. Before then, okay, now we have understood the data set that we are working with. We need to understand the business requirement as well. In the one that I've sent through, there's more than this. Okay, so we are going to be using the one that I've sent through to us. Okay, so, but this is the part of the business requirement. If there is any misconception or any blockers around any of the business questions being asked, we will go back and ask and ask and ask until we get it. And as we build as well, what I do is I go back to show each step. If I've, produced at least something showable, I would always show it to whoever is asking for that task, just to be sure that what I'm doing is exactly what they're asking for. If not, then I would get updates, from that point. Okay. Having said that much, let's open our Power BI. And then we can load. One thing I really love about Power BI is the fact that each step of it is um is an aggregate of what working with data is all about. Okay. And what I'm saying with that, we learned during when we were learning the theories around data analysis. That is that we get data, we clean the data and we enhance it, you know. Then we model the data to building relationships into, those are everything that's happened gradually within Power BI. And that's what makes Power BI really, really powerful. Okay. Um, for those who were not here when we were learning Power BI, we say when we open Power BI afresh, this page comes up, you know, and you can always use it for different purposes, get data, recent sources, different things there. But because whatever is here is actually inside Power BI, I would always just close this and use, the actual Power BI to to get my work done. Okay. So this is a fresh Power BI. We can see it says untitled. Okay. So it's not being used just yet. And that's why we have nothing in the data part of it and the visualization. That's the visualization part of things. We have these three icons here. Um, this one shows us the reports view. This is the Canva where we do the drawing, do the actual visuals, put the actual visuals on. This is where we'll get our data sets. That is the data view. And this is the data model where we model all the tables to show how they relate. I'm not going to go into all of that anymore because we've done that before and we have that recorded. Okay. Now, the very first step in working is you want to get your data set in. Okay. And we do that in get data. Under get data, we've got quite a lot of options. If it's an Excel workbook, we go for it. Power BI data sets, we go for it. Data flows, a lot of options. Text files, web. If you're getting your data set from the web, the option is there. Or data feed, blank query. And if it's not in that list, there's more. And in the more, we see a lot of, options for databases, all of that, PDF, whatever your data is about. There's loads of options in here in part um, in the get data session. Okay, so I believe our data set is an Excel workbook. So I'm going to connect and search for it. The name of it should be SoftNet Data, I believe. SoftNet Sales Data. Yeah, it's this one. SoftNet Sales data set. So yeah, and it's an Excel file. Sometimes it's a text file and it can be quite confusing. But since it's come up under Excel, it's an Excel file. And these are the tables within that file. These are the pages, not tables, pages within that file. It says data table, and it's opened a view for us in the navigator, where we can preview each of the elements of the data set we are bringing in. That's the data table. That's the page that we saw earlier. We can see dates. It says customer acquisition. I'm not sure I saw that before. So maybe not really the view that I'm looking for. Okay. Then there's the business requirement page. And that's not really looking like. I hope I'm bringing the right thing in. This says data table. It should just be data, isn't it? That I should be seeing. So this is the wrong data set. Please check in the one I sent to the group and let me know the actual name of that file so that I search the right one out, please. So I'm going to cancel that so that we can start again. What does it say on the actual name of
Softnet sales data.
Does it mean I've got quite a few of it? Okay, thank you, sir. Softnet sales data. Let's start it. So, okay, this is Softnet sales data set. So it's not the one. Softnet data, sales data. You know what? I'm just gonna go for sales data because
Mr. Debbie, why don't you open it from your WhatsApp?
Yes.
Yeah, and just see what it is, and we can now load it. Yeah.
yeah, it's the same as this one or this one, to be honest. Let's have a look here. It's in use because I'm opening it at the moment. So when you've left your, let me cancel from here. Okay. So when it's open, it's not gonna load. Okay. So we start that again. And I'm looking for sales data now. Okay. So hopefully it's this one. Yeah, it's this one. And it's still, it's still loading. Now it's loaded. So I've got table one. Okay. And now it's looking like what we were looking at before. Yes, this is the one. And it's the same as what you have as Softnet sales data as well. It's just that I've got the file in different names, the same file in different names, but it's the same one. And these are just dashboards, which are in that data set, which we don't need. Okay. So you see that this is coming up as a proper table. This icon is a proper table, and it's coming out as a range, just a range here. And I believe we've asked that question before, that which should we load? Because we don't have to load the two. This one says table one, this one says data, which is the name of what we were looking at, the table we were looking at, but it's not showing it as a table here. I would go with this, but if I had gone with this, it won't be wrong, to be honest. But this is the option I'm gonna go with.
Why don't
Yeah.
you go? Because if you look at the table as a distinct, it always has the blue color on top of it. The other ones are just sheets in the table, in the Excel sheet.
Yeah.
But I think it will be better, for the effectiveness of our data models and everything, to go for that table one.
You know what? It won't really make any difference, is what I've discovered. It does, yeah, it doesn't really make any difference, to be honest, when you bring it into Power BI. In Excel, it matters because table and just the sheet, table is more effective. But when we bring it inside Power BI, it all becomes the same, to be honest, in the end. So go for whatever you want to go for, is what I'm trying to say here. You won't be wrong at all. Okay. And the other ones I would ignore, because we only need that one page data. The one that says data, that's what we actually need. The rest are irrelevant right now. And you can see there's even more suggestions here, for you that you can bring in. But this is because these are within that data set, but they're not going to help us right now. Okay. So I'll bring that one table that we are going to work with in, and we've got the option to load it, to transform the data, or to cancel. Cancel is I want to stop this work. Transform data is okay. I need to transform it. That is, I need to do some cleaning and some enhancement work on it. and load this. Okay, I'm fine with the way it looks. I'm happy to bring it into Power BI like that. I'm very confident that I'm good to go, and I'm loading it straight away. Now, however confident you are of your data set, it's always best practice to bring it into transform data or click on transform data, because transform data will get it into Power Query so that you can have a second look or a better look at it and really be very sure that there's no more extra work that you should be doing on it before you start the actual analysis work. Okay, so I'm going to, do that. Now, I'm going to need help with, let me stop share for a bit, of course, recording. Okay, so these are the business requirements, and you would pardon the way it's presented. I've had to like cut it off, like snip these off a recording that I got the data set from. Okay. So, and this one is telling us that the owner of the business has asked us to create an interactive dashboard such that it's got key metrics like KPIs. Those are the key metrics to show total sales, total profit, number of transactions within this data set, average sales, then trend graph, sales by year and month, top 10 products. So we are showing all this, and we are putting these slicers in, okay? Also, we are to, if we look at the second one, we are to calculate total order quantity by the manufacturer, okay? Then we need to find what's the average profit by brand, and we need to create a column graph displaying total order quantity sold by channel rather, review, and we must review that by country. Like I said, this was originally an Excel exercise, but there's nothing stopping us from, recreating it in Power BI. Then we have to create, it says pivot graphs, but we'll look for the right graph that we can use to create this according to this instruction above, which is to create column graph displaying total profit by product category. And we should create bar graph displaying total profit by manufacturer. This is not out of scope of what we have done before. It's still within the context of the things that we have sort of had our hands on, before. So if I go back into the Power BI, and, because we clicked on transform data, now we are in our Power Query editor. And we know that the Power Query editor is like an extension of Power BI. So if I put my cursor now on the Power BI icon, we see that it's been split into 2 pages. We started with 1 page, which was this, but because we've brought data in and we have clicked on transform data, that is, please help me, please, I need to transform my data. It's like it's brought it into an extension of the house where transformation is done. And that extension is called Power Query Editor, which we, in our explanation, liken to the kitchen, where all the cooking and cleaning and everything is done before the finished food product is brought, or cooked food is brought onto the dining table, which in the house, which is the actual Power BI itself, okay? So let's look through our data to be sure we've got everything intact, and we've got to look at our data type to be sure that it's picked right. And if you look, when we brought this in, immediately we brought this in, Power BI it's done some work on it for us already. It's done some change type. So it's changed some some of these data types, what it thinks it should be, already, So I'm just going to, for the sake of, our class practice, I'm going to remove some of the steps so that we can have a go at them ourselves, okay? So let's explain these applied steps. Applied step, in Power Query Editor, we don't have undo button. You know how you can just have an undo here if you want to undo a previous step that you've done. But because each step that you do in Power Query is recorded under applied steps on the right side here, we can always come here to remove any step we don't want. That is how undo works in Power Query, okay? And that's how I was able to remove those steps that Power BI automatically created for us because I want us to do them ourselves. So on bringing this data set in, the way it's been brought in is that the headers are on row 1 instead of being in the column header position. So we have column 1, column 2, column 3 there. And then we are having order date, year, order quantity, and so on the first row. That's not what we want, okay? So there's a function called use first row as header under home. And this is where we come to change that first row. We say, change this first row into the actual header for me. That's the meaning of use first row as header. And there we do that. And it brings that straight up. The first row that we had, it's now in the header position. Apart from that, it's also gone on to change some types for us, okay? And that is just because the tool is quite intuitive. It's smart to sort of pick certain data types and just go on to assign the right data types or what it thinks is right. Because sometimes what is done is not exactly what you want, okay? So I'm going to undo the change type, okay? And we can see before it changed it for us, order date was actually having ABC123 as a data type, which is not right, and which was why it changed it to date. So we can, change that to date by ourselves just to see how it's done. Year says ABC123. Year can be whole number, to be honest. Okay, so I'll leave year as whole number. Order quantity, if we have no decimal there, order quantity would be whole number as well. Actually, quantity cannot be decimal. It has to be whole number. So I'm changing that to whole number, and because we are doing the same step all through, we are just changing type all through. It's not adding extra change type here. So when you are applying the same type of step in different steps, it retains just one line, of that action. Cost of sales cost is money, because it's money is under fixed decimal. So sometimes it changes this to decimal number. That's not bad. That's still okay to work with, but I'm going to change anything that's anything that's currency. I'll change it to currency. Channel, I can leave it like this or change it to text if I want, because it's text actually. Product name, well, because product name is a mix of numbers and text, I'll leave it as that. Manufacturer. So manufacturer, I'll leave as text. It won't harm anything if it's left like that, to be honest. Brand name, text. So all of this, okay, this is fine because we've got number and text in this one. Category, so all this, we don't have to make a fuss of them, but date is very important. Your numbers, your numerics, very important. All these, we can leave the way they are. It won't hurt if we don't change it to text. It will still be fine. But there we have it. That's how to ensure that you're working with the right data type. Thank you very much for that reminder, sir. Okay. And you know, we've just ensured that everything is in the right data type that it should be in. What else should we be looking at here? We should be looking through to see if we've got missing data or nulls, you know, that we can look for how to fill the gap in by asking the business, of course, because we can't manufacture our own data. So, and if you don't want to look through the way, like just clicking the drop down to look through, something that would always tell you that your data set is not complete is this green line here. Okay, so sometimes you won't have a full bar of this green line. So if there's a bit of gap or in your or nulls in your data set, this won't be a full line of green. There will be a bit here that will show you that it's incomplete. And ours is all complete. And if you want to know more about how your data is doing, you can go under view and check column quality, and that will tell you what percentage of your data set is valid, error, empty. You know, you'll get all of that. A whole amount of information that you can get about your data sets there. Okay, and if you don't want the name data, because that's quite generic, we can change that to sales data, actually. So I'm just gonna put sales data in front of that. And I will enter that. Or double click on here to change it. If you double click here, you can type on there as well. These are the two places that you can change the name of the table, you know, and there's more to do. Because we are not going to use this flat one table. We want to standardize this data set such that we'll create more tables from it. And then we can create relationships within those tables to make analysis really easy, really nice to do. And in standardizing the data set in such a way, it also ensures that as our data set increases increases over time, the storage, the volume of it is not disturbed. I hope that the way I put that across makes sense. But are there any questions or comments so far, or contributions? 1 or 2 minutes of it, since it's half 7 already.